If you're like me, 2020 is one of these years that seems like it will never end. Between the COVID-19 pandemic, the resulting economic disruption, and of course, the seemingly interminable US political campaign. Not only does it seem like the 2016 election never ended, but if you think about it, January of this year was just 10 months and seemingly about 100 years ago. And now, in the blink of an eye, we are just 3 weeks away from the November 3rd US presidential election. Now, that may seem like a very short period of time, but it's useful to recall that just 3 weeks ago today, US Justice of the Supreme Court Ruth Bader Ginsburg was still alive. Bob Woodward had not yet released his book or the recordings of the president's comments about what he knew and when he knew it about the COVID-19 virus and how serious it was. The New York Times had yet to release their report on the president's taxes with all those implications. We had yet to see the debate, which was neither presidential nor debate, between President Trump and the Democratic candidate, Vice President Joe Biden. And perhaps most significantly, the president, the first lady, and 34 other individuals in the White House had not yet been publicly diagnosed with the COVID-19 virus. So all that to say, an awful lot can happen in 3 weeks. Looking ahead, there has been some significant developments in the race just in this week alone. For one, the vice presidential debate this week was strikingly different in tone, in tenor, and in content with that we heard just over a week ago between the presidential candidates. Now, on the one hand, that's a good thing. That must have been a relief for all that were watching. I think there are a few that would argue that there was a knockout punch or that one side clearly won over the other. It depends on what you were looking for and what you wanted to hear. But in the context where President Trump, the Republican Party, the Trump campaign is lagging behind in even those opinion polls that are friendly to the president, it is arguable that it is the Trump campaign, President Trump himself, that needed the knockout punch, that needed to change the narrative. And so in that context, they're the ones that face the real challenges coming up in the next 3 weeks. And that is both a source of concern, but also obviously a source of intense focus for those of us who watch US politics. I fully anticipate that the coming days and weeks will be full of very pointed and energetic efforts on the part of the president and his campaign and his surrogates to once again change the narrative. By all accounts at this point, Vice President Biden is leading by anywhere from 8 percentage points to as many as 16 percentage points nationally, and even in those all-important swing states. And so in a classical sense, this is not even a close election. And I think that is going to drive a news cycle, which may serve to make the next 3 weeks even more frenetic than the past 3 weeks have been. In that context, we at the Perth USAsia Centre will continue to assess what that means for us in Western Australia, for Australia more broadly, for our neighbors in the Indo-Pacific, and for the United States and its role in the world. So fasten up your seatbelts, 3 weeks to go.